Bro, are you seeing this line? This isn't a midnight launch. This is Woodstock with fucking Mountain Dew. I swear to Christ, if the dude, the cardboard Master Chief armor, cuts me in line again.
Game start.
Hey, welcome to, or welcome back to the Average Joe Nerdcast. As always, I'm Nate, and this is the podcast where we break down the games, movies, and memories that shaped us. Sometimes it's history, sometimes it's story time, and sometimes it's just me rambling like I'm the keynote speaker at a convention panel no one asked for. And last time, we covered Halo 2, the sequel Bungie never wanted to make, but still changed gaming forever. And today we're talking Halo 3.
Music to my ears, Commander.
The cultural bomb, and the fight we all waited 3 years to finish. Now, before we fire up the Wayback Machine, we gotta address something. To the guy who swears he missed last episode because we left while he was getting snacks, I made it clear you'd get crumbs all inside the Wayback Machine, but we totally waited for you, dude. And then, Steve over here slipped and pressed the button on accident. Totally didn't leave without you on purpose, so that wasn't on me. Oh, hey, you're here. Did you already eat your snacks? Awesome. Come on in. We're just about to leave. Nah, we weren't talking about you. All right, it's 2007, and the world is shifting. The Xbox 360 is already on fire thanks to Gears of War. Sony's out there asking people to pay $600 for a PlayStation 3 and trying to convince us that Blu-ray discs were the future. Spoiler, they kind of were. Nintendo, they've got the Wii exploding into every living room, turning bowling into the new family pastime. And right in the middle of that chaos, Bungie drops Halo 3. Day one, $170 million in sales. By the end of the week, $300 million. CNN ran stories. NBC Nightly News covered midnight launches. Halo wasn't niche anymore. It was mass media. So let's think about that for a second. A video game was leading the nightly news cycle. This wasn't some underground nerd ritual anymore. It was the cultural event of the year. And it wasn't just numbers. The vibe was different. Halo 2 had midnight launches, sure. But that felt like our tribe, the gamers, holding court. By the time Halo 3 rolled around, that felt like the world. Parents were in line with their children. High school teachers knew half their class wasn't showing up the next day. GameStop clerks were running checkout lines like bouncers at a nightclub. And yeah, let's not forget the juice fueling all of this. I'm talking about Mountain Dew Game Fuel, the debut flavor, citrus cherry. Bright neon orange. They slapped the Master Chief's helmet right on the bottle and basically said, "This is your battle potion, drink up." But here's the thing. It wasn't just the soda or the sales or even the game itself. 2007 was the perfect storm. The first iPhone launched that summer. YouTube was barely 2 years old and already overflowing with Halo montages. No scope set to Linkin Park. Betrayals replayed in slow-mo. Recording light is on! Oh, hey, Steve. Kinda in the middle of recording here. Right. They don't know about the Halo montage DVDs we'd ripped from LimeWire and pass around. Imagine TikTok COD edits but rendered in Windows Movie Maker at 240p and passed around on LimeWire to be burnt to a DVD and shared with your friends at lunch. Now there's a history lesson, kids. Social media was still MySpace and early Facebook, but for a lot of us, Halo 3 clips were the first time gaming started to spread virally. It was one of the last moments in gaming history where everyone was playing the same thing at the same time with the same cultural pulse. Whether you were on Xbox Live grinding campaign co-op or just standing in line with strangers at a mall GameStop, Halo 3 felt like a shared global holiday. And Halo 3 wasn't just a game you played, it was a game you lived in. And for one night, September 25th, 2007, it felt like the entire world was standing in line together, waiting to finish the fight. But here's the wild part. Behind all that hype, all that midnight launch magic, Bungie was walking into Halo 3 with scars. Halo 2 nearly broke them. The crunch, the cliffhanger, the chaos, that phrase, building a cathedral out of a hurricane. Yeah, that wasn't marketing spin. It was trauma dressed up as poetry. Bungie swore they wouldn't go through that hell again. So for Halo 3, they rebuilt themselves from the ground up. Campaign and multiplayer were split into separate builds so bugs didn't bleed across. They built a state-of-the-art playtest lab with 600 testers logging over 3,000 hours of combat data to fine-tune the balance. They kept fans in the loop with regular updates, turning hype into a steady drumbeat instead of a last-minute scramble. And maybe, most importantly, Bungie shifted their mindset. This wasn't just a product. To them, it was a farewell gift. Jason Jones, the co-founder, stepped back into the shadows, but Joseph Staten returned, bringing polish and closure to the narrative arcs. Marty and Salvatore doubled down on the music. The whole studio treated Halo 3 not just as another job, but as the chance to get it right this time. Because Halo 3 wasn't just about finishing the fight in-game. For Bungie, it was about finishing their fight with Halo, closing the trilogy in a way that honored the players, the story, and their own sanity. Now, like I said, Bungie came out of Halo 2 with scars. That game nearly broke them. Building a cathedral out of a hurricane wasn't just a catchy phrase. It was their reality. Sleepless nights, code duct taped together, a cliffhanger ending that left us all screaming at our TVs. Bungie knew Halo 3 couldn't be another hurricane. This time, they swore it would be different. They set up separate pipelines for campaign and multiplayer so a bug in one wouldn't nuke the whole project. And then there was the playtest lab, the beating heart of Halo 3's polish. Imagine 600 poor souls locked in a room for weeks, grinding out over 3,000 hours of combat just to make sure the Needler still felt just as annoying. That was Bungie's QA team. Heroes in the shadows. We still salute them to this day. And here's the kicker. Bungie didn't just stumble their way through development like on Halo 2. They set up weekly builds, a rhythm they'd stick to religiously. In a way, they accidentally invented what modern devs call sprints. Little milestones, constant feedback, steady progress. It turned chaos into structure, and structure into momentum. They weren't just making a game. Halo 3 was Bungie's way of making amends. And the campaign? Man, if Halo Combat Evolved was birth, and Halo 2 was revolution, then Halo 3 was closure. Bungie knew they had to pay off two things: the mystery of the ring from Combat Evolved, and the Covenant Civil War from Halo 2. That's why Sierra 117 mirrors the second mission of Combat Evolved. It's deliberate. It's a callback, and that final Warthog run across the collapsing ring world, that's no coincidence either. It's Bungie intentionally remixing CE's finale, but with everything cranked up to mythic scale. Every mission felt like Bungie tying a bow on something. Sierra 117, quiet forest opening, echoing CE, a reminder of where we began. The Ark, scale like we'd never seen before. War zones that felt like playable concept art. The Covenant, maybe Bungie's best mission ever. 3 scarabs on one battlefield. Absolute chaos. Cortana, tight, suffocating, grotesque. The emotional low point. And then the Halo finale. Collapsing ring, guilty Sparks betrayal, and that Warthog run turned nostalgia into legend. And here's the wild part. Even with all the experiments and the cuts left on the floor, Halo 3 never felt incomplete. It felt tight. Bungie delivered a campaign that many still called the best in the series. Not in spite of its scars, but because they finally learned how to shape those scars from Halo 2 into something truly remarkable and finished. And this wasn't just narrative closure, it was emotional closure too. Halo 3 felt like the end of an era, the last great living room event before online gaming split us into 1,000 little tribes. Midnight launches, couch co-op, all-nighters with your best friends. Halo 3 was the bookend to that age of communal gaming. And Marty O'Donnell, he knew what he was doing. Halo 3 soundtrack wasn't just music, it was memory. He layered CE's original monk chant with a full orchestra, like the series itself had grown up with us. That final swell as the Warthog roars across the crumbling ring, that wasn't just music, that was Halo saying goodbye. And not everyone saw the same ending. If you rolled credits on anything below Legendary, the cutscene closes on the Arbiter at the UNSC Memorial Service. Chief Service Number 117 etched into the memorial alongside the fallen. Lord Hood saying, "Hard to believe he's dead." The Arbiter muttering, "Were it so easy." And that's it. No wink, no tease, just the implication that our hero went down with the ring. And for a lot of players, that was it until the Legendary ending posted to YouTube. Chief's story, over. Alright, personal confession time. The first time I beat Halo 3, I wasn't on Legendary. I was running couch co-op with my buddy. And he only ever played campaigns on normal, so when those credits rolled, I walked away thinking Bungie had actually killed the Master Chief. I was stunned, jaw on the floor. My exact thought was, why not the Arbiter? Fuck that guy. Why'd Chief have to die? It wasn't until I finally did my own Legendary run later that I saw the true epilogue. Chief sliding into cryo, whispering that immortal line,
"Wake me when you need me."
And just like that, all was forgiven. That line turned heartbreak into goosebumps. Instant redemption. Alright, let's take a quick detour into the toolbox, because Halo 3 wasn't just about story beats and scarabs. The sandbox was tighter, cleaner, and deadlier than ever. So here's my top 3 weapons. At number 3, giving it to the Spartan laser. This thing was like holding Zeus's lightning bolt. Long charge up, giant red shoot me now laser pointing across the map. But if you lined it up perfectly, boom! Banshee, gone. Warthog, deleted. Friendship, probably ruined. And let's be real, half the fun was just pretending to line up a shot so your buddy would scream and swerve his Warthog into a tree. At number 2, giving it to the battle rifle, still the fucking king. The BR defined Halo 3 multiplayer, much like it did for Halo 2. A 3-round burst that separated the sweaty from the casuals. If you could 4-shot someone, you basically ran the lobby. And nothing made you feel more like a god than out-BRing your buddy across Guardian. Unless, of course, you were Corey camping with that fucking shotgun in the corner. Yes, dude, I still remember it. And at number 1, the Grav Hammer. The Brutes brought their toys, and Bungie made sure we got to play with them. Swing that hammer and whole rooms parted like Moses splitting the sea. The shockwave alone was comedy gold. Ragdoll physics sending bodies flying like it was a Looney Tunes sketch. Pro tip, nothing clears a Forge custom lobby faster than one guy spawn camping with a Grav Hammer. Don't ask me how I know. And that's my list, but I know everyone's got theirs. Were you a BR loyalist, a laser god, or just a guy camping with rockets in Valhalla? Hit me up on socials. Your picks might get shouted out in a future episode. Now, back to the fight. Now here's the thing about Halo 3. Even though it felt polished compared to Halo 2's Hurricane, Bungie still left a graveyard of content on the cutting room floor. And for Halo fans like me, that graveyard is haunting. So let's dig into some of the ghosts. There was the Guardian Forest. This was supposed to be a full campaign level, a lush Forerunner forest between Earth and the Ark. You'd fight brutes and sentinels across massive tree platforms and into a Forerunner structure. It got cut late in development, but pieces of it did survive. Guardian, the multiplayer map, is literally a fragment of that cut level. Tutorial pop-up in real life. Think of it kind of like Fortnite leaking a whole new point of interest and then giving you just one tiny corner of it as a limited time map. That was Guardian Forest, a taste of something we never got. High Charity expanded. In Halo 3, you briefly revisit the Covenant's capital city, but it's collapsing under flood infestation. Originally, it was meant to be much, much bigger and more explorable, a full-on nightmare descent into the Hive. Bungie cut it back because pacing started to drag and resources were getting kind of tight. Still, the thought of creeping through High Charity while it's half Covenant Cathedral, half flood body horror playground, nightmare fuel we never got to see. And a flood arbiter. Yep, that one's real. At one point, Bungie toyed with a horrifying twist. The arbiter infected by the flood. Imagine Keith David's gravelly voice twisted through Gravemind poetry. The idea was scrapped, thankfully, maybe, but concept art still exists. There were also Sentinel variants. We got the classic little flying Sentinels in Halo 3, but Bungie had a whole Forerunner Air Force planned. There were Enforcer Sentinels. Massive mech-like Sentinels from Halo 2 were supposed to return. There were Guardian Sentinels, larger, smarter variants. Then there was the Strato Sentinels, orbital-scale defense drones teased in dev files, basically Forerunner warships in miniature. Picture Starlink drones, but each one is the size of an SUV and has a grudge against you personally. That was the Strato Sentinel. There were also cut enemy variants and weapons. Stealth elites were planned with improved cloaking mechanics. There were brute tracker units with shield emitters and heavy gear almost made the cut. Bungie even had a missile launcher prototype, the G4HDUSH, which would have added a new heavy weapon tier. There was a Forerunner tank, aka the Vindicator. This one lived mostly in concept art, but it was a massive Forerunner ground vehicle. Like if a Scarab and a tank had a baby, never got past the drawing board. Man, imagine rolling that out in the Ark. There were elephant variants. Sandtrap's massive elephant was already wild. A moving fortress you could drive, though? Bungie almost gave us more versions, some faster and more mobile. Imagine matchmaking with two elephants rumbling at each other across the map. Pure chaos. They had planned extra Scarab battles. Believe it or not, Bungie originally planned more than the Scarab fights we got. Ultimately, they scaled it back to keep pacing tight, but somewhere in another timeline, Halo 3 is basically Pacific Rim with Scarabs. They had also planned expanded Earth missions. Early drafts had more Earth-based levels before the jump to the Ark. New Mombasa was supposed to be bigger, more alive, more destructible. What we got was already stunning, yes, but the scope was cut down for focus. And here's the kicker. most of all of this was not cut because it was bad. It was cut for focus. Bungie wanted Halo 3 to feel complete, not like Halo 2's dangling threads. They trimmed the fat so the story had rhythm, the missions had punch, and the package landed clean. Still, it's fun to imagine. Guardian Forest as a full mission, a flood-infected Arbiter boss fight, Strato Sentinels blotting out the sky, a Forerunner tank rolling beside you on the Ark. Halo 3 could have been even bigger than it already was. But let's be honest, if Flood Arbiter had made it in, I would have had a ball serving him up with a 2-piece and a side of teabag. And speaking of chaos, if the campaign left us reeling, the multiplayer united us like never before. Now, if the campaign gave us closure, the multiplayer gave us immortality. Halo 2 invented online console gaming, but Halo 3 made it culture. It wasn't just a game you played, it was the place you lived. Halo 2 laid the groundwork with clans and playlists, but Halo 3 refined it into a lifestyle. Ranked versus social, big team battle versus custom lobbies. You had a playlist for every mood. Want sweaty competitive games? Queue up Team Slayer, grind that rank to 50, sweat dripping down your Mountain Dew bottle. Want chaos? Go for big team battle. 8v8 with vehicles flying, random kids yelling in chat, and someone always betraying you for the sniper. Imagine Valorant or Apex ranked, except the whole thing was run through a clunky 360 blade dashboard. Your internet died if your mom picked up the phone, and if you hit 50 in Team Slayer, you basically walked on water at school the next day. And here's the part that made it legendary. Your service record. Every match logged, every betrayal remembered. If Halo 2's online was about proving Xbox Live worked, Halo 3's was about identity. Now this is a big one. Forge mode. It was Minecraft before Minecraft. It changed Halo forever. For the first time, players could manipulate the sandbox itself. Drop crates, spawn weapons, move spawns. At launch, it felt basic, but fans turned it into a digital Lego. Racetracks, puzzle maps, duck hunt, sniper minigames, giant robot arenas. Forge gave us the keys to Bungie's kingdom. Fuck! What? I'm aware that a lot of them don't know what OG Duck Hunt is, but it's not the NES dog that I'm referring to. This version is way funnier. It's just some poor Spartan getting pinged out of the sky while his buddies scream in chat. You know how today Fortnite is half Battle Royale, half whatever random creative mode map is trending on TikTok? Forge walked so that Fortnite could sprint. And the chaos of Forge nights with friends? Absolutely priceless. One buddy trying to build something serious, the other spawning 40 fusion coils and turning it into a Michael Bay movie set. Hours gone in absolute laughter. And then there was theater mode. This was another innovation nobody saw coming. Theater mode let you re-watch your matches from every angle. That meant every betrayal, every sticky, every no-scope could be saved and shared. Without theater, you don't get Halo montages. You don't get the machinima boom. Red versus Blue thrived because Halo let you literally film inside its world. Early YouTube gaming culture was born inside of Halo 3's theater. What, Steve? What? You don't think Gen Z knows what machinima is? And whose fucking fault is that, Steve? Look, machinima was basically TikTok skits inside of Halo. But instead of thirst traps and dances, it was Spartans swearing at each other, and goddamn, it was beautiful. I swear to God, one more time. Just one more fucking time, Steve. Now imagine a game in 2007 handing you a built-in OBS recorder. That's what this was. It turned every 13-year-old with a capture card into a wannabe Spielberg. And Halo 3's maps weren't just arenas. They were cultural landmarks. Valhalla, the Blood Gulch, spiritual successor, wide open, rivers cutting through the middle, banshees screaming overhead. If Blood Gulch was the church, Valhalla was the cathedral. Sandtrap, two moving elephants, entire matches devolved into vehicular jousts and desperate flag runs across the dunes. And yes, elephants flipped, always. Guardian, compact, vertical, perfect for sweaty 4v4s. Born out of cut campaign levels, it became the competitive map. Epitaph, a digital cathedral, alien geometry everywhere. Gorgeous. If you could survive the shotgun corners. The Pit, pure competitive bliss. Sightlines, callouts, balance. It became Halo 3's crown jewel for MLG. The Pit was the map where friendships either ended or began. You either clutched or you choked. There was never any middle ground. And remember DLC drops? Foundry, Avalanche, Blackout. Each new pack wasn't just maps. It was like Bungie dropping mixtapes. Now with the community culture, this is where Halo 3 transcended being just a shooter. You logged in not just to play, but to be part of something. Custom games were the real magic. Fat Kid, Infection, Duck Hunt, Trash Compactor, the wild modes that turned Halo into party fuel. These weren't Bungie's modes. They were ours. It was like stumbling into a weird house party every night. You'd hop into customs and suddenly you're playing dodgeball with grav hammers while some dude blasts Linkin Park in the microphone. Halo 3 also lit the fuse for modern esports. Major League Gaming was already running Halo 2, but Halo 3 cemented it. Strats, callouts, clutch plays, all of it became part of the vernacular. And watching pros like Walshy, Ogre 2, and Final Boss dominate, that was the future before Twitch ever even existed. And here's where I gotta brag a little. I actually had a friend I ran Halo 3 with who went pro. Dude tore up the MLG circuit, and his winnings ended up setting him up for the rest of his life. Meanwhile, I'm over here podcasting about it, so I guess we both kind of won in different ways. And speaking of multiplayer chaos, Halo 3 didn't just give us maps and modes, it gave us equipment. Gadgets that could flip a fight, save your life, or just ruin someone else's day. So let's run it down. My top 3 Halo 3 equipment. Sitting at number 3, I'm giving it to the bubble shield. Look, if you never dropped a bubble shield and screamed, "Safe space!" Are you even a Halo player? This thing turned a death sentence into a standoff. Snipers? Rockets? Nope. You're safe in your bubble. At least until someone walks in and turns it into an awkward knife fight. Bonus points if you baited your buddy inside, then stepped out right before a grenade went off. At number 2, I'm giving it to the power drain. Ah yes, the blue bug zapper. Toss one of these into a Warthog squad and suddenly you've got 3 crispy Spartans tumbling out like clowns from a car. Shields gone, vehicles fried, chaos everywhere. Nothing felt dirtier or more satisfying than wiping a room with one well-placed drain. This was the original delete button. And at number 1, gotta go to the gravity lift. Now come on, nothing screams Halo 3 more than launching yourself into the air like a bottle rocket. Sometimes tactical, sometimes completely stupid, but always fun. Whether you were storming a base in Valhalla, launching a flag carrier to victory, or just seeing how far you could yeet a mongoose, the grav lift was peak Halo nonsense. And if you stacked 3 of them, fuck it. That was NASA-level stupidity, and I absolutely loved it. And that's the thing. Equipment wasn't always balanced, but it was always memorable. Half strategy, half comedy. Pure Halo 3. Now, you know we got to talk about the soul of Halo. Not guns, not maps, not Forge. Talking about the sound. Because here's the thing. Halo is one of those franchises where you can hear it before you ever see it. The monk chant, instantly recognizable. The drums, you know exactly what's coming. And in Halo 3, Marty O'Donnell and Michael Salvatore didn't just recycle the old hits. They built a farewell symphony. Marty always said Halo's music should feel sacred, walking into a church, not an arcade. That's why the organ, the chants, the choirs, Halo 3 is the culmination of that vision. So the monk chant returns, but this time with full orchestra, it wasn't just familiar. It was Halo saying, "We've grown up with you." The Warthog run theme, rebuilt from CE, but with horns and percussion cranked to mythic scale. It wasn't just nostalgia, it was closure. The flood sections whispered dread and a tonal horror music, like the soundtrack itself was infected. The Cortana missions, stripped back piano, eerie dissonance, voices fading in and out like a nightmare. Back then, you didn't have Spotify dropping the OST at midnight. You either bought the Halo 3 soundtrack on CD or, let's be honest, you borrowed it off LimeWire and prayed you didn't just download a virus disguised as Halo 3 soundtrack.exe. But here's the part a lot of fans forget. Bungie didn't just compose a soundtrack, they recorded 30,000 plus individual lines of dialogue for Halo 3. That's Marines, Grunts, Elites, Brutes, Sergeant Johnson one-liners, an audio library so massive it gave the game life. Fire a gun, it echoes differently in every space. Marines spot a Banshee, you hear panic in one squad, bravado in another. Grunts, they were still screaming comedy gold like, "Not again!" as they blow themselves up. But that's Bungie's secret sauce. Battlefield chatter. It turned missions into living war zones instead of static encounters. Some of my favorite Halo memories aren't the cutscenes. They're background noise, like when a grunt panic yells and I end up laughing so hard I get killed. That's Bungie at its best, mixing terror and comedy in the middle of chaos. And Halo 3's cast was stacked, and Bungie knew they were closing a trilogy, so they went big. Steve Downes is the Master Chief, of course. Fewer lines than ever this go round, but every single one carried mythic weight. Chief was less soldier now and more legend. Jen Taylor is Cortana, and here's where she shined. In Halo 3, she doubled herself. The Cortana we knew, and the fragmented, tormented Cortana slipping under flood corruption. Those whispery hallucination sequences, that was Taylor making you feel like your AI best friend was losing her mind. And by extension, you were too. Keith David, back as the Arbiter. That gravelly gravitas turned an alien lizard into one of the most beloved characters in the franchise. Ron Perlman as Lord Hood. Hellboy himself leading humanity. Pure gravitas. David Scully as Sergeant Johnson. Bungie gave him the most fitting send-off ever.
Send me out with a bang.
A line that still echoes in Halo fans' hearts to this day. And the Firefly trio, Nathan Fillion, Alan Tudyk, and Adam Baldwin cameoed as ODST Marines. Bungie knew the fan base. They basically slipped in a Firefly reunion just to make nerd hearts explode. And the bench depth was crazy. Background Marines voiced by comedy actors, Grunt still voiced with slapstick genius, Brutes roaring with Kevin Michael Richardson's guttural menace. That's a cast mixing Hollywood and legendary voice actors with pure Bungie weirdness. Bungie balanced operatic stakes with laugh-out-loud absurdity. One moment you've got Keith David and Steve Downes growling about finishing the fight. The next, the background Marine is cracking wise about how much the flood stinks. That tonal balance, epic and absurd, is part of why Halo's universe feels so alive. It never drowned in grimdark. It gave you scale and heart, but also grunt screaming, "They're everywhere!" before blowing themselves up. And don't forget, Halo's machinima was thriving. Without Halo 3's voice library and theater mode, Red vs. Blue doesn't explode the way it did. Bungie didn't just make a campaign, they built an audio playground that fueled a generation of creators. And Halo 3's soundtrack and audio design weren't just polish, they were myth-making tools. It made battles feel alive, it made closure feel earned, it made Halo's universe echo like scripture. Even now, you play Finish the Fight on a car stereo, and I guarantee at least one 30-something nerd will get goosebumps and whisper, "Wake me when you need me." And Halo 3 didn't just look next gen, it sounded eternal. All right, we've hit weapons, we've hit equipment, now it's time for the garage. Halo 3's vehicle sandbox was legendary. So, here's my top 3 rides. Sitting at number 3, the Brute Chopper. The Brute death cycle, loud, ugly, and perfect for one thing, turning Spartans into roadkill pancakes. If you heard that engine revving behind you, it was already too late. It was basically a Mad Max reject that Bungie gift wrapped for us, and I absolutely thank them for that. Sitting at number 2, the Hornet. Finally, UNSC air power in multiplayer. It wasn't exactly an Apache, but it gave Halo 3 the aerial dogfights we didn't know we needed, and nothing felt better than hijacking one mid-flight. Unless you were the poor guy getting jacked, in which case, pour one out, buddy. And at number 1, the Warthog. Still undefeated. No other vehicle in gaming has the same legacy. 3 seats, endless chaos. Whether it was flipping off cliffs in Valhalla or running clutch flag captures, the Hog was Halo distilled. And if you say you never accidentally splattered your own teammate with a Warthog, you're fucking lying. That's just part of the experience. And that's my list. But let's be real. Everybody had a ride or die. Maybe you were the Ghost Menace. Maybe you were the guy who flipped the Hog every 10 seconds. We all had one of those in our crew, so don't even lie. Either way, vehicles made Halo 3 chaos into Halo 3 magic. And speaking of magic, let's talk about the Believe campaign. Alright, so let's get real. When people talk about Halo 3, they talk about the campaign, the multiplayer, the Warthog run. But if you were alive in 2007 with a TV or internet connection, you remember the marketing. And this wasn't just slap Chief on a Doritos bag marketing, this was myth-making. The centerpiece was Believe. I want you to picture this. A 40-foot battlefield diorama, hand-sculpted by New Deal Studios, populated with 1,200 individually crafted soldiers and aliens from the legendary Stan Winston Studios, all frozen mid-fight. Built like a war museum exhibit, then filmed like a documentary. We're talking camera pans across ruined bunkers, scarred Marines, frozen grunts mid-scream, intercut with somber veteran interviews, actors aged up pretending to be survivors of a war that never really happened, reminiscing about the day the Master Chief saved them. And the way it was shot? Chills. Rupert Sanders directed it like a war documentary, lighting like Saving Private Ryan, faces captured from real actors, miniatures sculpted with grief and grit. It wasn't buy this game, it was remember this hero, honor this sacrifice, believe. Man, I don't care how many times I've watched those ads. They still give me goosebumps. Hell, I'm getting goosebumps right now just talking about it. It wasn't Master Chief has a new gun. It was Master Chief is basically gaming's fucking George Washington. And it didn't stop at TV. You could go online and explore that diorama like a digital museum exhibit. Click around, zoom in on scenes, hear fragments of oral histories. This was 2007. when flash sites were usually just sparkly cursors and bad techno music. Bungie and Microsoft said, nah, the hell with that. Let's build a virtual Smithsonian for our fake space war. Imagine Fortnite drops a site where you can click around a diorama of the end event, with little NPC survivors telling their stories. That was Believe, 15 years before Epic even thought about it. And before Believe even landed, Bungie and Microsoft set the tone with Starry Night, directed by Joseph Kosinski. Yep, the same guy behind Tron Legacy and Top Gun Maverick. It opens with two kids lying in a field staring at the night sky. They're talking about space, wondering if there's life out there and if we'll ever meet it. And here's where the fan theories kick in. A lot of us still wonder if one of those kids' voices was meant to echo John himself, back before the Spartan 2 program ripped his childhood away from him. Then smash cut. Suddenly you're looking through Chief's perspective as he snaps his helmet back on. Over comms, you hear the Marines. Any sign of the Chief? Negative, sir. I think we lost him. And then Chief's voice cuts in. Not yet. A bubble shield flares, blocking incoming Wraith fire, and Chief charges headlong off a cliff into a horde of brutes. AR in hand, pistol on his hip, the embodiment of defiance. It's 30 seconds of pure Halo. Hope, loss, defiance, and myth all rolled into one. Bungie didn't just hype the game, they made Chief feel like legend. I remember watching that trailer and just whispering, let's fucking go, to no one in particular. It wasn't marketing, it was a battle cry. I was so hyped I could have got up and ran headlong into traffic. Now we gotta talk about Landfall. Neill Blomkamp directed it. Weta Workshop handled the props. And let's talk about the brutes in Landfall. Dude, those weren't video game cutscene brutes. Weta made them terrifying. Every swing of that grav hammer had weight. You could feel it in your chest. The armor wasn't shiny plastic. It looked beat to shit, like they'd been in a real war. And here's the thing, that CGI, better than half the movies that came out in 2007. And I mean it. Put those brutes side by side with just about everything that released that year, and Landfall wins every time. Imagine if TikTok deepfakes looked better than the billion-dollar movies hitting theaters. That's what Landfall was in 2007. Bungie's commercials looked more legit than actual Hollywood. And that opening's just pure chaos. ODST and Marine Squad scrambling through New Mombasa ruins. The camera work is gritty, handheld, almost like a war documentary. You've got sparks flying, Covenant banshees roaring overhead, raining down fire, and then those war drums start pounding in the background. Pure Halo atmosphere. And the details, man, the details. Weta built real armor and weapons, and it shows. The ODST gear didn't look like cosplay, it looked like military kit. The plasma hits, the smoke, the guttural growls of the brutes, all of it sold the idea that this wasn't just a game world, it was a real battlefield. And then comes my favorite bit. The ODST sniper thinks he's about to hold the line, but nope. A brute chieftain comes barreling in and just wrecks him with the blade side of a grav hammer. Brutal, raw, metal as fuck. But don't fret, that same brute gets his comeuppance by the end when a Marine fires a Spanker rocket launcher before the bunker they've gathered into seals a moment later. Bye-bye, brute. Chef's kiss. Landfall wasn't just a commercial. It was proof of concept. A mini-movie that flowed directly into the events of Halo 3's campaign. It made you believe this war was real, and it pisses me off in the best way, because to this day we still haven't gotten a Halo movie in that style. Not a series, not a reinterpretation. I'm talking Blomkamp and Weta level grit, boots on the ground war film. And no, I'll never accept the Paramount Plus show as a consolation prize. Give me a fucking break. If Hollywood had any sense, they'd have handed Blomkamp a blank check and said, dude, go nuts. Instead, we got District 9, which, don't get me wrong, it absolutely rules. But we'll always wonder what a full Halo film in that style could have been. And here's the genius of Landfall. It wasn't just some flashy buy our game spot, it flowed directly into the campaign. The chaos you see in that short, that's literally the same Warzone Chief drops into in Sierra 117. Wada framed it as Marines holding the line, ODSTs making their last stand, brutes tearing through defenses, and then the game picks up that same beat. So when you booted up Halo 3 at midnight after watching that ad on repeat, and don't lie, we all know we all did, it didn't feel like marketing. It felt like the prologue, like Bungie had already set the stage and you were just stepping into the fight. Imagine if a Fortnite trailer literally ended and the next season's opening cutscene picked up the exact same moment. That was how seamless Landfall was. It blurred the line between hype and story. And here's the thing, marketing doesn't hit like that anymore. Back then, they didn't just sell you a game, they sold you a world. Trailers like Believe, Landfall, and Starry Night made you believe Halo was history, myth, culture. And speaking of culture, we can't talk marketing without talking about game fuel for a second. And because the 2000s were built out of sugar and neon, we can't forget that Mountain Dew gave us the first ever game fuel. Citrus cherry, extra caffeine, Master Chief stamped across the cans, and even limited edition aluminum bottles. It wasn't just marketing, it was the midnight launch ritual. You grabbed your copy of Halo 3, you grabbed a case of game fuel, and you settled in for a night you'd never forget. Half nostalgia, half heart palpitations. And look, this wasn't Code Red. Dew fans will actually fight you on that. This was Halo's flavor, the unofficial blood type of Spartans everywhere. Imagine Red Bull drops a flavor only for Elden Ring 2, puts the tarnished on the can, and every 7-Eleven sells out by 12:05 a.m. That was game fuel. All right, cans cracked, copies bagged, midnight behind us. We've got the disc, the dew, and the whole night ahead. But here's the thing. Halo 3 wasn't just a perfect storm of hype. Its real impact wasn't in the line outside of GameStop. It was in what happened after we got home. Halo 3 didn't just finish a trilogy. It finished an era. It's the last time gaming truly felt like a single room where everyone was hanging out at the same party. It turned players into co-creators. Forge wasn't a novelty. It was a mindset shift. A whole generation learned layout, flow, spawn logic, sight lines by accident because Bungie let us mess with the toys. Theater turned us into editors and storytellers. Early YouTube wasn't polished brand content. It was Halo clips, betrayals, stickies, ridiculous Forge contraptions. Halo 3 didn't just make memories, it gave us the tools to save them and share them. It normalized gaming as appointment culture. Midnight launches weren't just pickup lines, they were rituals. Monday night customs, Friday rank grinds, be on at 8 wasn't a suggestion, it was church. Halo 3 proved games could set the social calendar just like sports or TV show premieres. It tied community to identity, your service record, your film clips, your file share, your emblem. You didn't just log in, you arrived. Gamer tags became passports. Clans felt like hometowns. When someone loaded your Forge map and laughed in the right spot, that was creative validation before likes and subs meant anything. It showed polish can be soulful. Everything felt considered. Mission echoes from CE, the Warthog coda, Johnson's final line, Marty's motifs, growing up with us. Bungie proved that big didn't have to mean bloated. You can be cinematic and still feel human. And it was Bungie's graduation, This is the game where they proved to themselves that they could structure the chaos, protect the team, and land the plane. Halo 3 is the moment the studio exhaled. For us, it was closure. For them, it was permission to dream about what came next. And it's the last true monoculture moment in gaming. After 2007, the river split. MOBAs, battle royales, always on, endless feeds, awesome in their own ways, but different. Halo 3 is the final snapshot of a time when the entire scene showed up for the same night, the same story, the same roar when the doors opened. And for me, Halo 3 was the handoff between who I'd been and who I was about to be. CE was LAN nights and pizza boxes. Halo 2 taught me to talk with a headset and swing with the BR. Halo 3 felt like a proper goodbye, a thank you. When Chief said, "Wake me when you need me," I didn't just hear a line. I felt a door close and another one open. So here's my challenge to you. Dust off a copy or boot up the Master Chief Collection. Load up a favorite mission, the Covenant, the Ark, that final Halo run, and remember who you were the first time those horns kicked in. Then hop into socials and tell me your Halo 3 moments. The custom game that went off the rails, the montage you edited at 3 a.m., the friend group that felt like squad mates. I want to read them on the show because those stories are the point. We are our memories, and Halo 3 gave us the tools to keep them alive. And I'm going to be real with you guys. Halo means a lot to me on a personal level. Obviously, since I kicked this whole podcast off covering the first 3 games, right? But I didn't grow up with the picture-perfect childhood. I had a stepdad who treated me like the black sheep while my stepbrother got to be the golden son. My real dad, he was distant at best, but to be fair, he's the one who handed down my love for gaming and science fiction. The real hero was my mom, and she did her best. She never told me I was wasting my time with video games or nerd stuff. If I went off on a rant about Halo lore or Star Wars theories, she never talked down to me. She encouraged me. She protected that part of me, the part that loved to imagine, to create, to dream, to believe. You see what I did there? And that's where Halo came in. Halo made me feel bigger than myself. When I had a controller in my hands, I wasn't just some kid dealing with family bullshit. I was the Master Chief. I was in control. I was important. Now fast forward a bit, I joined the Army in 2006 and thought I had a career ahead of me. But by 2007, I was injured, sitting on the discharge list, and honestly, that was one of the lowest points of my life. It was like watching life move on without me. My brothers and sisters in the service kept pushing forward. My friends back home, they'd moved on too. And I was just stuck, isolated, alone, a failure. And then Halo 3 dropped. And it was like coming home. Just like Halo CE and 2 had given us togetherness, Halo 3 gave me that again, but bigger. Split screen nights, online lobbies, custom games, forge chaos until the sun came up. I found a new tribe, new friends, new bragging rights. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was moving forward again. So yeah, Halo wasn't just a game for me. It was a lifeline. It was community. It was home when I didn't have one. And that's why these games still matter to me, and why they always will. And that's going to do it for this episode of the Average Joe Nerdcast. Shout out to my forever player 2. Thank you for being my first listener. And shout out to Cap for giving me the push to get off the bench and press record. Shout out to my partner over at the Challenge Arena. Thanks for holding the fort down while I ramble into this microphone. And shout out to Pickle. You know what you fucking did. But most importantly, thank you, the listener. If you vibed with this, please like, follow, rate, and review, and share the show. And come hang with the community on Facebook, Instagram, or X. And drop your Halo 3 stories, forged clips, or old screenshots. I might just feature them in a future episode. Next time, we're taking a brief detour from Bungie's battlefields and war drums and paying tribute to another formative era. Cartoon Network's late 90s, early 2000s golden age. We're talking Toonami, late night bumpers, and the animation that rewired our brains. And then after that, we're kicking off 31 nights of Nerdoween. 4 weeks of spooky episodes, all October long. Until then, stay gold, nerd bold. Anyways, hey Joes, real quick, before we wrap for real, I've got one more thing. The week this episode drops will coincide with September 25th, 2025, which means Halo 3 officially turns 18 years old. 18. Halo 3 can legally vote now, buy a lottery ticket, maybe even move out of the house. Meanwhile, I've got gray in my beard and knees that sound like the flood when I stand up too fast. Time sure does catch up to all of us, huh? But here's the thing. When I think about Halo 3 turning 18, I don't just think about the midnight launches or the game fuel bottles stacked on my desk. I think about the people, the fellow Spartans we stood shoulder to shoulder with, friends who pulled all-nighters with us, brothers and sisters who carried the flag when we dropped it, the random teammates who turned into lifelong friends. Halo 3 wasn't just a disc and a green case. It was a shared memory, a tribe, a moment in time where we were all young, all laughing, all screaming into our headsets, all charging into the howling dark together. That's what I celebrate when I look back now. Not just the fight we finished, but the people we finished it with. So here's to 18 years of Halo 3, to the Spartans we played beside, and the memories that still live in those maps, those missions, those late nights. The game may have aged, but the moments, those are timeless.
Game over. Wake me when you need me.
Dude, I just pulled a 12-hour forge session. Wake me when the fucking pizza rolls are done.